Okay. Welcome to K9 Boxing Live. And now I'm Cornelius K9 Bundradge, two-time world champion. And we have a special guest today. That's right. The very first ever Kronk world champion, Hilmer Kenty. How you doing, my brother?
Oh, nice to be here, K9. Thanks for inviting me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, anytime. Hey, listen, you started this, man. So with you starting this, man, you know what I'm saying? It would only be fair to bring you back. What you been doing nowadays?
Well, right now I'm working with a IT staffing firm. We do IT staffing. We work with a lot of Fortune 500 companies here locally and also all around the United States.
Okay, that's good. That's good. I know at once upon a time you were on a commission. You're not on the commission for the state of Detroit anymore or the state of
Well,
Michigan.
yeah, I was on the boxing commission. I just had a few disagreements with them about the way we were actually, um, agreeing on actual fights.
Okay.
I thought a lot of the fights that we agreed to, or a lot of fights that we let actually happen, I just didn't
Hmm.
think they were good fights. And of course, I want boxing to be the best that boxing can be. I wanted boxing to be like it was back in the 80s, like when I came up, when Tommy Hearns came up, and we had a lot of Kronk champions and a lot of champions in general in the
Yes.
Michigan area. I would
Hmm.
like to see boxing back in those types of days.
So I'm trying to figure this out. You told me it was some things you wanted to happen that didn't get happen, but you were the first world champion out of Crunks. So we couldn't make that work. We couldn't make it happen.
Well,
They wouldn't
yeah,
listen.
I was just hoping that we could do that,
Yeah.
but I'm sure people hear a lot of different things from a lot of different people, and a lot of times it's hard for them to make those particular decisions. And a lot of those people that were making decisions on that commission, they weren't around boxing when when you were coming up, or when I was
Hmm.
coming up,
Yeah.
and we had a lot of the champions going on at that time. I really do. I'd like for us to get back to that type of boxing. I think the only way we're going to be able to do that is we're going to have boxing on a more consistent basis. And
Yes.
box and you're going to have to fight guys that are tough fighters. I
Yeah.
just don't think you get better by fighting guys that aren't as good as you are. I think you
So
want to fight up to your competition.
yes, that's right. No, I'm just trying to figure this out. How were they voted in to be on a boxing commission if they don't know boxing?
Well, I think a lot of people, not to say that they don't know boxing, but they
Hmm.
may have been a judge, or they may have been a referee in the
Yes.
past, or
Hmm.
they may have been a fan. I
Okay.
think you have to have actual boxing experience. But I think when you, if you don't have that boxing experience, I would think you would want to listen to someone that does have the boxing experience and that have actually been there in the past. And I
Hmm.
felt that they just didn't see me that way. They didn't see me as a person that had that experience.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was a little surprised at that myself, but
Yeah.
that's they've got a right to do that if they'd like to.
Yeah. Yeah. So where we at right now in this boxing, where this coronavirus has shut everybody down. So they throwing a few fights, a few shows. They just recently had a fight this Tuesday on ESPN. But I heard word on the streets from BoxerScene.com that Dimitri Salita is about to throw events at the famous Crunk Gym. And I'm gonna tell you, I'm excited. Are you excited about that?
Oh yeah, very excited about that. Yeah, I do. I think Dimitri does a very good job in putting fights together. I think he puts the best against the best. I
Yes.
wants his fighters to become better, and he understands the only way that they're going to become better is they have to fight good competition. And I really do. I really appreciate that.
Oh yeah, that's good. Absolutely. He being a former fighter himself, he knows boxing. That's why I say, like, even for instance, when you were on the board, you know boxing. So
Right.
why? So the best person to do with boxing is a boxer. Same thing with the NBA. The NBA, when the players retire, they are actually commentators. And what can you get more better information from than a basketball player that played basketball? Right?
Right, right. Where Dimitri, as a former fighter, he knows what
Yes.
you have to do to get to the
Yes.
top. He knows those, and he respects the sport. Not only do he
Yes.
know how to get there, but he also respects the sport. And I think
Hmm.
that's the reason why he put shows together the way he put shows together.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, you being the first, let me rewind that. the first world champion out of Kronks. Can you give me the experience of being the first world champion out of the famous Kronk gym before Tommy Hearns?
Yeah, I tell you, I think it threw everybody off because I tell you, I never thought I'd be the first world champion either. I mean, as you well know, when I came from Columbus, Ohio. When I came here from Columbus, Ohio, Tommy was, he was selling out the Olympia, the old Olympia Stadium. And you know how big that is. He was selling the place out. Not only was he selling, he was having some tremendous knockouts. And it was just, he really did. He had a great crowd. He really know how to get the crowd into the fight. And then of course he would end up with a knockout. And I think he ended up with 17 knockouts before he even went to to the distance.
Wow!
So I think around that time it was just a very exciting time, and I just happened to get the opportunity for the championship first. I think Ernesto Espana, who I fought for that championship, he didn't know who I was, and of course I'm sure the films that he saw of me, evidently he didn't think I was that good. Yeah. And so he took the fight, and then we were able to bring it here to Joe Louis Arena. That was another great thing too. We were able to bring it right here to Joe Louis Arena, and then on that particular day, Joe Louis came in town. So we had Joe Louis at the fight. Howard Cosell was commentating the fight, and I was ready. I was in the best condition. I was in the absolute best condition of my life.
Wow. Who were you sparring? Who were you sparring back in those days? Did you spar Tommy Hearns getting ready for the fight, or was he in a different weight class?
I did. I really did. I had to spar Tommy just about every single day. I don't do about 3 rounds with him because, as you well know, you spar with several different people to make up your 10, 12, or 15 rounds, how many ever you're going. But Tommy was a person that I sparred with. I sparred with, of course, Jimmy Paul. I sparred with Milt McCrory. So all of the guys that eventually became world champions, I fought those guys to prepare me for my championship fight. And I just believe that, the fighter, Ernesto Espana, the guy that I won the championship from, I just think he underestimated me. There's no way I thought I was going to win that fight. I was a puncher, but I think he underestimated my ability, the amateur experience that I brought to the table. I think he underestimated the experience I brought as a professional. And I really do. I think he underestimated my speed.
Wow. So when you won the world title, did you pop bottles? Did you and Manny Stewart pop bottles? Was it a big celebration, like a parade for the city?
Yeah, we did. We did all of that. The great thing about it is after the fight was over, Joe Louis was there, like I said.
Wow.
And then Coleman Young, who was huge here in Detroit at that time.
Yes.
He was back in the dressing room with me. That's right. We were popping. We were having a ball. We were having a party back in the dressing room after the fight. And, not only that, my family came up from Columbus, Ohio. It really was. It was just a wonderful time. And I remember when I was younger, I would always shadow box. And I'm sure you probably do this too, K9, every now.
Yes.
Shadow box, but during my shadow box, and I'm acting like, I'm actually on ABC Wide World of Sport. I'm fighting on ABC Wide World of Sport.
Yes.
I'm acting like, Howard Cosell is commentating the fight.
Exactly, right.
And then to actually have that happen. I'm fighting on Wide World of Sports.
Yes.
Howard Cosell is commentating.
Yes.
And I'm doing my thing. And I'm telling you, I just think that really was that. I would have to consider that the very best fight I've ever fought.
Wow. So Emmanuel so you and Emmanuel, were y'all going over the game plan? How was it in training camp? Did y'all actually? Because I know Emmanuel likes to cook for his fighters. Were you actually staying with Emmanuel getting ready for the fight?
No, not at that. Not really. I really about the last 4 weeks, Tommy and I, we stayed at a hotel. But. In terms of putting the game plan together, one of the things that I did is when I first started watching Ernesto Espana, I started watching some of his films. It was kind of hard for me to watch some of his films because, he's good. He was a good fighter. And so it was kind of tough for me to watch some of his films. But as I continued to watch those films, I began to see some little mistakes that he would make. You know,
Okay.
and one of the things that I determined is if you get real aggressive in your fighting style, he'll get aggressive along with you.
Yes.
So I thought to myself, one of the things I was going to try to do was I was going to get very, very aggressive, get him tired, and then I'd be able to pretty much do whatever I wanted to do. And I'm telling you, that plan just worked out so well because I had a lot more speed than he did. So I just stayed ahead of him the whole fight. I just stayed ahead of him. A lot of combinations, a lot of punches, in and out, moving side to side. I just fought a fight that I fought like a fighter I'm sure that he had never seen before. And I was just very, very aggressive. And I knew I had to be aggressive because I knew I wasn't a very big puncher.
Okay.
And so I knew I had to be aggressive, not only because I wasn't a very big puncher, but also because if it goes to a decision, I want to make sure I win that decision. And if the fight is close, of course it's going to go to the former champion.
Exactly. Now you were down at Kronk's, the original Kronk, right? It was some of the greatest sparring sessions and better fights than actual fights that were on HBO Live. Can you walk me through some of those sparring sessions and what was like one of the greatest sparring sessions you were a part of or you actually saw down at the Kronk gym?
Yeah, I can tell you I was a part of the whole ton of them. I mean, it was just about every day. I remember I can just remember going to the Kronk gym and sparring, and sometimes we do, 6 rounds, 8 rounds, maybe 10 rounds in a day. And I'm telling you, I would come out of that, I would weigh in, say for instance, I come in at about 148. By the time I left, I would be about 138. I would have lost like 10 pounds, because the gym is very, very hot.
Yes.
And then you got all the workout clothes on, and you got headgears on, you got 16-ounce gloves on. You really do. You just lose a lot of weight. And that was just with doing the sparring. That didn't take into consideration the heavy bag, the speed bag, the jump rope. When you start putting all that together, you really do. You just take a lot of weight off. And because, it was very hot there, as you well know, the gym was actually in the basement. So it was right down by the boilers in the basement. And that's what made it so hot there. It just made it swarming. It was just a swarming type of heat.
Did you witness any knockouts in the gym? You don't have to say no names, but did you ever witness any knockouts? Not just knockdowns, knockouts.
You know who it was probably too. You know it was Tommy Hearns. But the one story I'll tell you about Tommy Hearns is I remember one time Emmanuel brought a guy to spar with Tommy Hearns, and he brought a guy, and the guy was coming in from out of town. I think he was coming in from some part of Michigan, some other part of Michigan. And this is a guy who was he was more experienced as a professional. He had been a pro. He had been a pro for a longer time. And I remember he came into the gym, and Tommy he beat on this guy like he really did. He beat on this guy like he was mad at the guy, And I remember asking Tommy after he sparred, I remember asking, why was you so hard on this guy?
Yeah.
He said, ain't no way somebody gonna come in here into the Kronk gym and then gonna start trying to act like they're gonna beat me. I'm gonna punish anybody that comes in here and tries to act like they're gonna beat me in this Kronk gym. He says, just not gonna happen. This is our gym. This is where this is our home. And that threw me for a loop right there.
Wow. So Tommy Hearns was the second world champion out of famous Kronk gym then, right?
Yes, Tommy was the second world champion. I won the championship in March of 1980. Tommy came 6 months later, exactly 6 months later, because I was March 2nd and his was August the 2nd. And he knocked out Pepino Cuevas there, of course, at Joe Louis Arena also.
Wow. So, and who was third? Can you what was 1, 2 to 5? 1, 2 to 5.
I think Milt McCrory was the third. Jimmy Paul was the fourth. I really can't remember who was the fifth because it started really. I mean, it seemed like champions. It seemed like Emmanuel started developing champions. I mean, two and three different champions every year. It seems like. it seemed like he really started ramping up at that time. I think a lot of people began to respect Emmanuel Stewart. So not only was he turning out champions locally, but also other people was coming from out of town, and they wanted to train here at Kronk under Emmanuel Stewart. And so he started developing champions from other areas also.
So do you think that Kronk actually was actually the greatest boxing gym of all time?
Yeah, without question. There's no doubt about that, you know. And I really do. I talk about that swarming heat down there in the Kronk gym, but I can tell you, I just think that was in our best interest. And the reason why I say that is because if you could go 8, 10, 12 rounds there, 15 rounds is no problem out in an arena. You know, you get to a Joe Louis arena, or you get into any other arena with air conditioned, you know, for you to go 15 rounds after you've gone 10 or 8 rounds at the Kronk gym, it's no problem. It's just no problem at all.
Manny was known for knockouts. You know, nowadays, you know, everybody want to do that Floyd Mayweather stuff. They do all that pity pat. Manu didn't like that. Was Manu big on knockouts? He wasn't into that pity pat. And what style, like, did he have you turn your shots over, or he let you throw a lot of fast punches?
Yeah, well, with me, I did. I mean, and he did. He tried to get me to, you know, turn those punches over. And when I look back at it, I really do. I wish I had done a lot more of that. I just think that Tommy, he got to the point where he knew how to time his shot. He knew how to tighten it up, the variation of the shot. Not only that, Tommy did a very good job of setting those punches up too.
Yeah,
I remember Tommy. I can remember sparring with Tommy, and there were times where Tommy would try to set me up with a left jab. You know, he got me a couple of times. He caught me a couple of times. But I can tell you that was early on. You know, after a while, I just didn't allow that to happen anymore, because when Tommy started throwing his left jab and he started moving around, I knew right then it was time for me to start throwing left jabs and start moving around too. Because you know, he really does. He does a very good job of just setting you up and then catching with that right hand. And one of the things that he would do a great deal of is he would shoot his jab to the head, shoot his jab to the body, shoot his jab to the head, shoot his jab to the body. And the only thing he's doing is he's watching you. And as you start to follow on his jab, bam, there come the right hand. You never even see it.
You never even see it, right?
I just thought that was just so. I thought that was ingenious. I thought that I really did. I thought that was very good.
Now, so you turned pro in 1977, right?
I turned pro in 77, right?
Yeah. You know, I was reading up on you. Even though you're my boy, I still got to do my homework, right? So, and you won your world title with 81, or was it 80? 81, wasn't it?
It was 80. It was 1980.
It was 80. I know.
I tell you, that was something. You know, like I said, I think, you know, it just. I was just at the right place at the right time. You know, I can't give myself any credit for getting that championship.
You too humble, man.
Yeah, I was right. I was at the right place in the right time.
Yeah.
So the only thing that I will give myself credit for is I really did. I knew that was going to be the only opportunity I was going to get for a world championship. I knew that.
Yeah. And
if I was not prepared for that shot, I wasn't going to get another shot. You know,
exactly.
Because that was kind of my coming out party. Nobody knew about me, but once I got on television, once I got on live television, now everybody's going to see me. And so if I don't win this championship fight, it's going to be real hard for me to get another championship fight, because, you know, nobody's going to want to fight a fighter like me.
Yeah. I want to ask you the versus those days and these days. What are some of the great things that you and the fighters in the 80s and the 70s did, in the 90s, early 90s did, that was better than what the fighters doing today?
I really do. You know, I think that I think it's always in a fighter's best interest to be aggressive. I really do. Okay. Because there again, like I was telling you earlier about Tommy Hearns throwing his jab to the head, throwing it to the body. You know, only thing he's doing is he's trying to get his opponent focused off of his right hand. I mean, and I think the more punches you throw, the more you can get their focus off of that big punch. And I think that's where I got a lot of that from. Tommy throws a lot of punches. He throws very fast punches. He uses a jab very well. You know, and he really does. He just sets you up. He sets you up for that right hand. And then when you catch with the right hand, if you don't see it coming, you're going to sleep. I mean, and I think that's how he got most of his knockouts.
Do you think that the fighters are better today than they were then?
I won't say they're better, but I would say, a lot of people say that, I know when I was coming up, a lot of the fighters say, well, the fighters, back in the 40s are better than the fighters in the 60s, and the fighters in the 70s are better than the fighters. No, I think the fighters today are just as good as the fighters were back then. I think that, the reason why we had a lot of world champions at the time that I came up is because, remember, when in 1976, we had an Olympic team.
Yes.
We had an Olympic team. We had a team that went to the Olympics and won, 6-7 gold medals. America was really strong in boxing at that time.
Absolutely.
And so a lot of those people that fought in the amateur ranks, they were turning pro at that time. And even some of those guys that didn't go to the Olympics, just because they didn't go to the Olympics didn't mean they weren't very good. And so a lot of those guys, they got mature, they got better, they got stronger, and they became world champions. And that's why I think when we produced the most world champions.
Yes. So you're basically saying that the fighters in the 70s and 80s and the early 90s would have smoked the fighters today.
No, I can't say that. I can't say that.
Yeah. You're too humble.
No, I can't say that. I will say this though, because I watch a lot of the fighters today, and I really do. I think they are very good. I think they're very smart. The only thing I don't see in them is I don't see the aggressiveness. I'd like to see them a little bit more aggressive.
Okay.
I tell you, we got really good fighters, really smart fighters. I mean, there are just so many good fighters out there right now.
Also, so basically, we have Deontay Wilder and Triple G that you can just think of that are very aggressive. And they stand out because there's not a lot of aggressive fighters today. I can't think of nobody else offhand that are aggressive. Like when you got back in those days and in your days, in the good days, we had Joe Frazier, we had George Foreman. I mean, we can even throw Mike Tyson in there. He was in there in the late 90s, early 90s.
Right.
If you ask the average fan, though, Hilmer, you ask the average fan, the average young fan, who would win between Floyd Mayweather and Tommy Hearns, do you know they would say Floyd Mayweather?
The one thing I always think about in that fight, there's no doubt about it. Floyd is good. I'm telling you, Floyd, I mean, he's an outstanding fighter. I mean, there's no question about that. It's just that Tommy Hearns, it would be hard for me to see Floyd Mayweather beating Tommy Hearns, and primarily because Tommy Hearns is 6'1". Floyd Mayweather is like 5'7". And not only that, Tommy Hearns uses his reach very, very well.
Yes.
And I'm talking about he uses his reach well on offense and on defense. You got a lot of boxers that can use their reach very well on offense, but they don't use it very well on defense. He's a good defender with his arms, using his arms as a defense. Yes. I just think he's very good with that, where a lot of fighters just aren't that way. And it would just be hard for me to see Floyd Mayweather beating Tommy Hearns. Now, and I'm just being honest. I think he would have a chance of beating Ray Leonard.
Okay.
Simply because of the size. I mean, they're comparable in size. In height, I guess I should say. But it would be hard for me to see him beating Tommy Hearns.
Okay. Who is your favorite fighter today?
I don't know. I do. I have so many of them.
Okay. Top five.
I'm trying to remember his name. He was a lightweight, then he moved up to welterweight.
Pacquiao?
Huh?
Pacquiao?
No. I never can remember his name. He's a brother.
Oh, okay. Lightweight and went to welterweight.
Lightweight, then he went to welterweight. Don't worry about it. I never can,
but is you talking about Bud Crawford?
Bud, that's right.
Okay.
That's right. And the reason why I like him so much, he really does. He reminds me of Tommy Hearns.
Right.
He reminds me of Tommy Hearns.
Wow. Yes, he good too. You know what? Matter of fact, he was on. Rydell Burke was out of town, and he asked him a question, and Jimmy Paul asked him what would be his chances against Tommy. He said he would have beat Tommy. Bud said that.
I don't know about that because there again.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I don't know about that because there again, I think Bud. I think Bud's only about what he's probably about 5'10" or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. About 5'10".
I can tell you when like I said, by sparring with Tommy,
yeah,
he just uses that height. He just uses it so well. I mean, he really he uses it so well. And not only that, when you're trying to reach him with all of the height he's got, and then he counters you. I mean, it really is devastating, man. It really is.
Yeah. Hey, isn't it crazy though, Hilmer, the money that the fighters are getting today compared to the days when you were boxing?
Yeah, it really is. It's unbelievable. I can't even count the times that I've said, "Boy, I sure wish I was boxing these days with the money they're making now." It is, man. The purses are unbelievable. But one thing I will say though is I think they're all deserving of it. I really do.
Yeah.
I think they are all deserving of that. As you well know, K9, boxing is a tough sport. It really is.
It is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Where in basketball or baseball or any of those team sports, if you're having a bad day, maybe some of your team members can help you out. But if you're having a bad day in that boxing ring, you in trouble. There's nobody you can pass the ball to.
Right, exactly. Not.
Yeah. None of that.
Yeah.
So if you're having a bad day, you can, you just having a bad day, and it's not going to be good.
I want to ask you a couple more questions. I see we're about to run out of time. A couple of more questions. How good was Bernard Mays? Emmanuel Stewart used to say Bernard Switbad Mays was the best fighter he ever saw. Even better than Sugar Ray Robinson, he told me. How good was Bernard Switbad Mays?
Yeah, I tell you, that guy, he really was. It was just unbelievable. I just thought, and he was a lot younger than I was, actually. Well, I shouldn't say a lot younger than I was, but he was about 3-4 years younger than I was. And I remember when I was coming up as an amateur, and, I was in the open division. He was coming up in the amateurs, and he was in the juniors, and he was novice.
Yeah.
And I tell you, I used to go to some of the junior tournaments, and I used to watch him, and while watching him, just shaking my head in unbelief. I mean, he really was. He was just truly, I don't know. He was just unbelievable, And there were times when you could tell he wasn't in condition.
Okay.
But he was able to put it together in a way that would get the guy out of there early, or whatever he needed to do. He was able to do, and not only was he able to do it, but he was able to do it in a stylish, flat fashion. He was very good. I mean, he really was. He was. I would have to say he was the best fighter I've ever seen.
How good was Stevie McCrory? I don't know if I ever saw him fight before. I mean, actually down there and train, because I'm from Kronk too. I stay down the street. I used to come down there and see a lot of you guys train and fight and all that. I don't know if I really remember Stevie McCrory, but how good was he?
Yeah, the one thing I always think about when I think about Steve McCrory is I remember watching him spar one day, and I'm telling you, we as pros, we were pros at the time, and he was still an amateur. We would stick around after we were finished working out. We would stick around and watch him sprawl. I mean, that's how good he was. And I can remember him being in a corner. I can remember a guy having him in the corner, and I'm telling you, this guy probably threw 6, 7, 8, maybe 9, 10 punches. Missed. He made the guy miss every one of those punches, and then just curl right out of the corner, and then of course, got the big part of his ring to his back. He really was. He was just he was amazing. He really was.
Wow. Who was the best fighter in the gym? You got fighters that can shine in when the lights on, but you got some, you call them gym fighters. Who was in the gym that was real good? I mean, you saw them and they could knock your head off in the gym.
Yeah. Well, I think most of the fighters for Kronk anyway. I never saw what I considered a gym fighter. Most of the guys that did good in the gym at Kronk, they did the same thing. They did good, as the fight went on too. I can't think of really a gym rat that was coming up around the time I was coming up that was really good in the gym and not that good in the ring.
Not Bam was good in the ring. He was good when the lights came on. I remember I used to see him, man. He'll hit him and you'll pop. He'll say, "Mother effer." Then he'll hit you back. Then you'll hit him again. He'll say, "You stupid mother." Bam was crazy, man.
Yeah, that was another thing. That was I think that was a lot of wasted talent because he really was. I think he was really, really good. I just don't think he trained. He just wasn't willing to put the time into the training that he needed to. But yeah, you're right. He was very good, and he was a big puncher. He was a big puncher.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
They said that Obakar, even we talking about the analysis, the commentators out of HBO, whoever, some of the best in the world said that Obakar was the best fighter to never become world champion. I think Jim Lampley said that. Do you agree?
Yeah, I don't know if he was the best not to become world champion, but he really was. I tell you, a lot of people are surprised to see you win the championship. I was surprised that he did not win the championship. I really,
right.
I really was. I was just surprised because I knew for sure he was going to win a world championship.
Okay.
But there again, I just think, where, like I said, in other sports, I think a lot of guys can kind of, maybe not work as hard and still be successful. In boxing, you just can't do that because it's not a team sport. It's, you got to do it all yourself.
Exactly. Last question. Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder 3. Who wins the fight, and who will win the fight between the winner of those two versus Anthony Joshua? Because I heard Tyson Fury is about to fight Anthony Joshua in a 2-fight deal.
Well, I'm glad you asked me that question because I can give you the answer to that too. I can tell you if Deontay Wilder has me in his corner, if Deontay Wilder, seriously,
you're gonna get paid.
Deontay Wilder has me in his corner, he's gonna beat Tyson Fury because I'm telling you, I know exactly what I do. I studied those fights, both of them. I know exactly what he has to do to beat Tyson Fury. I really do. Right. So if I'm in this corner, he wins. If I'm not in this corner, I don't know.
Okay. Hey, so you a trainer now too, though? I mean, or you get in the game and train somebody?
No, I'm not, but I would train. I'd love to train. I'd love to train him against Tyson Fury. I really would.
Okay.
I think I know exactly what he needs to do to win that fight.
Okay. So what's Anthony Joshua's chances to beat whoever wins the fight between them the third time?
To be honest with you, I've seen Anthony Joshua fight, but I haven't seen him a lot.
Yeah.
I'm just not that impressed with Anthony Joshua. I'm sorry. It could be. It is what it is. It could be because I just have not seen him enough.
Okay.
I have seen him in. I really wasn't. I wasn't that impressed. And he's not really that big of a guy. He's not a real big guy. So that's another thing I think that makes him limited in terms of what he can do in the heavyweight anyway.
Okay. Well, I believe styles make fights. Yep. I think that if Deontay Wilder was to fight Anthony Joshua, I think he would knock Anthony Joshua out. But I think Joshua has a great chance against Tyson Fury because Tyson Fury is not a one-punch knockout artist.
Yeah, he's not a
style.
I think he's a much better puncher. For example, I think he's a much better puncher. I think he was a much better puncher in the second fight with Wilder.
Oh, yes, he was. Yeah.
In the first fight. And
shout out to Sugar Hill.
And I think that has to do with of course, the Kronk trainer.
Absolutely. Hey, hey, listen. I think we're gonna have to end it on that note right there. I appreciate you, Hilmer Kenty, man. Can you give them any social media that you have and your last final thoughts?
I'm sorry. Say that again.
I said, give me your last final thoughts. Any social media and your last final thoughts for all the viewers, all the million of viewers just listening and watching.
No, I really don't. I don't have really any final advice or anything like that. I really do. I love boxing. I want it to continue, and I really do. I want guys to really. I think if you really work hard, I think get to the championship. It's not just all about ability. It's about hard work also. Okay. Well, I appreciate you, and I look forward to seeing you when the gyms open back up or at the Demetrius Salinas Kronk fight, the Detroit Brawl. I'm looking forward to it. All right. Good evening, my brother. Cheers.